And then the third piece is the long-term tax strategy. So talk to me a little. We built a strategy for you for the business, but what's really interesting is looking at the real estate piece and how different the tax rates and how that business is being taxed compared to your coaching business. And I think that kind of opened your eyes as well, right? As far as looking at, profitability, how much money were you able to have after taxes? Maybe talk a little about that there, Josh.
Yeah, it was for a typical business owner like me. I mean, we have very little understanding of taxes. All we know is that we pay them, and it's typically a big bill or big check that you write, and it goes to somewhere that you never see, and you don't think anything more about it. You hope that it's as little as possible, and you don't want to think about it. And just working with you guys and really understanding that this what you call active income that from my business is taxed much differently than the passive income from my real estate investing, and how that's a part of the equation of what my return on investment is, because this is going to be taxed much lower on the real estate side than on my business side. Then why wouldn't we try to get as much money into that side as possible? And then just understanding, you guys talked about the real estate professional thing, where I was able to get that designation because of my time in my real estate business, which then helped lower my taxes overall. Even something as simple as understanding that because of my entity types that I have, that these all flow through to me personally. Like, I'm sitting there before thinking, okay, this business pays taxes, and then my real estate business pays taxes, and then I personally pay taxes. And it's really getting an understanding of, no, it all flows through to you personally, and it's taxed in different ways. So we need to optimize where that money's going, how it's coming through to you, and then ultimately get that tax bill as low as possible so that you have more funds to create that
Oh,
better
that's great.
life.
Great summary. I think too is that, like you mentioned, right? You had a tax professional, right? That individual was talking to you once a year, right? Mostly about how do we get your tax bill down that year? Let's all the difficulties of doing the tax returns. Where I was pretty impressed, right? The team came in, we told you what we thought we could save you by using some of our typical strategies, and then really that was for the business, and then really getting deep in the real estate, and we were able to put together that long-term strategy for you. And you saw it. Great. I'm going to buy, besides your current holdings, you're going to buy the triplex, and then what we were going to do with the triplex, we were talking about doing some cost seg, and then ultimately, hey, maybe I might not want to hold this for more than 5 years, right? What am I going to do after that? And being able to anticipate, right, with the 1031 transaction, and avoiding the recapture, the depreciation, maximizing your depreciation. So I think, yeah, there was really, for me, it was like textbook on exactly how far we can push the ball for you as both as an entrepreneur and as a real estate investor.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that was one of the other big differences between what I had before, where it was just like, okay, come tax time, you do my taxes, give me a few tips to maybe do throughout the year, and that's it. Whereas with you guys, it wasn't just speaking throughout the year about this year's taxes. It was, let's think 5 steps ahead, because you want to buy this triplex, and then we want to do a cost seg study to get that tax bill as low as possible this year. But then you're thinking about selling it maybe in 5 years. And if we don't plan for that accordingly, that could create a massive tax bill. So you guys taught me all about this 1031 exchange, and just having that plan in place. And as soon as I buy this triplex, I know exactly what it's going to do, not only for me this year, but what my plan is 5 years from now to make sure that tax strategy is optimized. So that was eye opening, just to see how far in advance you can work
Yeah,
out to
right,
make sure it
and
is optimized.
hopefully you didn't feel like the process was too onerous, right? We try to make it as easy as possible. Like, we want you focused, right? Whether it's you evaluating opportunities out there in the real estate space or working on your coaching business. That's probably what is your unique ability, what's your unique skill set that you're bringing. Let's keep you there. It's always been our, with working with so many entrepreneurs, so time crunched, is let them do where they're going to get the highest utility out of their time. That's their unique skill sets, and being able to deploy that.
Yeah.
I guess.
The only other thing I'd say on that is it's funny, when I first started working with you guys, I'd bug Andrew, the tax manager. I'd send him all these TikTok videos I was watching, like, oh, you can go employ your kid and save $50,000 a year on taxes. And I'm sending them over and over. And on our next call, you guys are, hey, that's fine. You can send us stuff here and there, and we'll tell you. And usually it's going to be like, no, this is crap. But just know that you're going to make your money by doing what you know how to do in your businesses, and let us handle the tax things. So it's eye
Yeah.
opening and
I
answer
think too is
questions.
that you were able to see from our tax planning software that it's pretty damn comprehensive. It's one of the best tax planning softwares out there, and it's pretty
Right.
complex, and pretty comprehensive, or it is comprehensive as far as maximizing the strategies. And we don't get too close to the wire as far as like uber aggressive, but there are strategies that time proven, and explain them to you, what needs to happen as far as documentation, the implementation of the strategies, making sure that your audit, that if you do get audited, you have proof of all the transactions that we're doing it right. So like, again, just trying to save you time, but put you in the best position possible. Yeah. So just again, really run through. Josh did a great job with coaching business, real estate investment. A lot of our entrepreneurs, right? Whether they have other businesses going on that have different cash needs than their primary business, whether they have investments, whether they have real estate, like there's always ways to look at the business wealth as well as the personal wealth and kind of balance that out. I think that's uber important for more established business owners and more established entrepreneurs. Obviously, if you're a relatively new entrepreneur, you do is want to grow that main business, but over time, you want to be very purposeful in that doing what you're going to do with that cash, that positive cash flow. And I guess the last piece, we talked a little, Josh, about this, but you're a young guy, but as far as exit strategy, right, and getting the financials, knowing what private equity wants, knowing what brokers want, as far as the story that your financials tell you, what's that these financials are professional, they're usable by private equity guys, brokers trying to put you up for sale. How'd you think that process went?
Yeah, I think most of us, when we start a business, we go into it thinking, oh, this is my baby. I'm going to have it forever. If I have kids, I'm going to pass it on to them. And then we start to realize, no, there may be an exit someday in some form. And you guys really helped me find clarity around that. Of most people think of an exit, okay, I build it to here, I sell it, and that's it. But you guys opened my eyes to, oh, no, there's actually multiple ways you can exit a business or partially exit a business, and just going through all those and planning for each scenario accordingly. So that was really eye opening for me, and helped me focus on what I
Yeah,
thought
as I
would be
say, I
best
think
for me.
I always say you should always be prepared for exit. Even if you have, that's like the absolute last thing on your list, you should always be prepared. Just one for knowledge. But I think too, it helps people expand their thinking about the business. Sometimes just allowing them to see the business from a buyer's perspective, it kind of changes their perspective. And often I feel like it energizes them and allows them to think at different levels. So I'm always a big proponent about going through that exit exercise.
I think the other thing is, if you're building a successful business, people are going to be interested in buying it. And it's interesting. Shortly after we'd had that discussion, I had someone that I was randomly talking to, hey, would you ever consider buying it? And if we wouldn't have had that discussion, I would have had no idea what to even say to them, whether it was yes or no. And if the talks would have gone further, what I would even ask for. But because of what we talked about, I was very prepared. Okay, no, not at this point. I'm not interested. But we could go further down the line. Okay, if you were, what type of price would you be looking at? And I had a very clear idea in my mind of what that would look like based
Yeah.
on where I'm
And
at
two
and
is
where I
that,
want to be.
what those multiples would look like at a million, at three, et cetera, what we've seen in the past. So that's a yeah, good topic to understand. Yeah, so let's wrap this up. So I appreciate just we walked through CPA on Fire's 3 wealth process. So we talked about or taking Josh on as a client, doing the 5-year, 3-year forward-looking analysis, building that 12-month budget, always forward-looking, no rear view accounting, very little rear view accounting, right? And gleaning what we can from the rear, but really it's all about going forward and matching Josh's business goals and where he wants to take the business month by month, doing the course correction, right? Marrying that with that long-term tax plan, which essentially like that between the long-term financial plan and the long-term tax plan, then that really weighs into that wealth building process, both personal and business, and making decisions about what to do with positive cash flow. Again, I think this was a good entry to seeing how all of our services kind of work from an entrepreneur's perspective. So I appreciate it, Josh. Any parting thoughts for us? Yeah, you can
Am
come
I out of
back. Yeah, you
character
can come
now?
back
Can I
to
go back
reality.
into? All right. No, I think like we talked about, that is a made up scenario, but it's so similar to so many of our clients. They have these businesses that are pretty successful, but they truly don't know how successful because they're not getting the right services, and they really don't have a plan other than setting a goal of, oh, I want to do 2 million this year and 5 million this year. I think when they start working with us, they truly understand how to set these goals, and more importantly, how to create a blueprint or a plan to hit those goals. So hopefully that in our amateur acting performance that came across, that is the type of, these are the exact
Yeah, no,
conversations.
absolutely. And two is that I always find like people put these budgets or put these goals together and then they put them away. Maybe not from what they're look at, but as far as from a financial perspective, right? Maybe they look at revenue and that's where it stops, right? They don't really have a clear understanding on profitability. And what it takes and the investments they're making and how that helps them with their revenue line and their profitability line. So I think it's always extremely smart to have somebody like a CPA on fire in your court, on your team, to really help you as an entrepreneur work so hard on growing your business and being successful and like making sure. I just think it's a really good idea to have the right team, and particularly from a financial operations side.
Yeah. And I think the only thing I'd add to that too is that we get people all the time ask, like, I want you guys for taxes and maybe some CFO type work, but I like my bookkeeper or vice versa. And is it okay if I use you for parts? And we always say yes. We work with people in those scenarios. But I think the ideal situation for especially the client, but for us as well, is when we can take over all those facets. So it's not going back and forth. Oh, my bookkeeper said this. And then you go back to the bookkeeper. My tax person said this and vice versa. It's just, it works so much better when you have this one team here that's looking at every part of your financial picture of your business. And
Yeah, I was just saying I use the word holistic, but for me, it works, right? If there's other professionals involved, but on the same time, it's just what it does. It just wears down the entrepreneur because the entrepreneur's got to be the middleman between everybody and making sure like stuff is still getting done. So all of a sudden, the entrepreneur becomes that general contractor that's got all the subcontractors. So when you come to us and we're able to provide those three services to you seamlessly, and you're only getting what you need, that's where I see the entrepreneur making the biggest gains. If I could look back over the last 4 or 5 years, who's made the biggest gains? It's always the person that comes to us and been like, this is what has real clear about what they want to do and knows what they don't want to do, and that's the financial operations. And then like we plug and play there, and I just watch these men and women just boom. So it's been pretty, for me, that's what I get charged up about. So, hey, great episode, Josh. Thank you very much. We'll leave it here. And then until next time, we wish you the best, and we'll catch you next couple weeks. All right. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks.
all right, I'll see you next time.